not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years. Bring your ass.
Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Oh, yeah. Look at the Flagrant Howls graphic department's been hard at work here the last couple weeks. Shout out to Pat Lager behind the scenes for revamping some of our visuals here on YouTube. And thank you guys, by the way, for getting this brand new YouTube channel over 6,000 subscribers in the first, 2.5 months or however long it's been since I think it's been about 2.5 months. We're sitting here in the offseason. We got the sports dad, Judd, the walking NASCAR driver. We've got mustached producer Declan, and I'm Phil here. And we'll get into some latest Timberwolves news, but also we thought it'd be kind of fun. This is like the 2 months of really the downtime in the NBA offseason. We like ranking things on our Score North podcasts. And so today I'm going to bring you the first of, and Judd's going to rank uniforms at some point, but Flagrant Howls ranks things in the offseason. All-time best Timberwolves trios was suggested to us a few months back. So we're going to dive into that here. Presented by Zbiotics. Declan?
Yes, look, we're adults, and as you get older, it becomes harder to hang. You know, those long nights can turn into rough mornings. And Zbiotics is a pre-alcohol, prebiotic drink, which is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. So here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut, and it's the buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that is to blame for those rough mornings. So before drinking, you take this little vial here, and you take it before you drink. You just take this little guy. Tastes like nothing. It's easy. It goes down the hatch.
Old Mackey in Vegas a couple months ago.
Oh, my God.
Packed the Zbiotics. It was great.
Yes. If I had that during a Vegas trip a few years ago, I would have been in a much better spot. So head to zbiotics.com/howls. So our Flagrant Howls audience, head to zbiotics.com/howls. Use code howls at checkout for 15% off. Go to zbiotics.com/howls for 15% off.
Are you guys ready for the top? And I got to 10. The top 10 all-time best Timberwolves trios. Big threes, if you will.
Wow. Oh, I'd love to hear like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is awesome.
Is there? Can I ask? Is there overlap? Like, is there? What?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're at, like, if does like player A show up?
So like
in a few
once
of these?
you use Kevin Garnett, you can't use him again. That's where I was. That's where I thought you were going.
It'd be tough to get to 4 if you.
Yeah, that's where I was like.
Hold on a second. Pooh Richardson. You get some Felton Spencer. Come on.
Felton didn't quite make the top 10 here.
You mean Big Al, Randy Foy, and someone else? Am I spoiling the list?
Let's pop the graphics team has been hard at work here. So why don't you pop this up and we will count down Mackey's top Wolves trios in team history. So yeah, Big Al Jefferson, I considered him, but he was, man, like they had some really dark teams there. And it was right in the middle of, like, it was Kevin Love kind of came along. And so here's, by the way, honorable mention for Kevin Garnett, Ricky Davis, and Mark Blount. Didn't quite crack the top 10. But just a legendary Wolves trio there from 2007. Judd, I know you remember fondly. We'll start with number 10. Number 10, the 10th best Wolves trio in team history. Christian Laettner, J.R. Rider, and anybody else. I picked Doug West on those bad teams. This is the first what could have been trio. It was a bad set of teams, but you had 2 top 5 overall picks that were awesome in college. Christian Laettner, the best college player maybe in America at Duke. You had Laettner and Rider I think it was back-to-back drafts. And people thought, I remember as a kid, oh, here we go. This is it. The Timberwolves are going to blast off. And they were terrible. And Doug West is kind of getting the shrapnel here because I have to fill it out with a third person.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve it.
He does not belong in the, like, Doug West was a good professional role player, a starter during these years for like 8 or 9 years with the Timberwolves. So Laettner, Rider, and Doug West, number 10.
Those first 2 guys are, if you were to do a top 10 list of the most recalcitrant Wolves of all time, those 2 would also make this list.
Can you actually work on that list for later on this offseason? The
Sure,
top 10, how would we classify that list? Recalcitrant?
Yeah. a-holes, however you want to classify it. But yes, I can do that. Top 10 jerks.
We'll say top 10. What's another word for recalcitrant? Malcontents. Malcontents.
I love it.
Because then you can. There's an obvious one from a few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, you could probably pretty easily get to 15 for sure, and maybe 20.
You probably could. All right, number 9. The 9th ranked trio in Timberwolves history.
Okay, this is good.
This is the next what could have been trio here, because we never got to see it fully play out. I think knowing how all three of these players kind of peaked with their various journeys, I don't know that this team would have been anywhere near championship caliber. Andrew Wiggins, really good role player on a championship team. Karl Anthony Towns has been a monster box score guy who's had shortcomings in the playoffs, been to some Western Conference, Eastern Conference finals. And Zach LaVine is more just like a hollow offensive stat filler. But, there was once upon a time where you had Wiggins was a number 1 overall pick, Towns number 1 overall pick, LaVine I think was a top 10 pick. He was like 9th overall, whatever he was. And then they kind of blew it up to bring in Jimmy Butler. So Wiggins, Towns, and LaVine, what could have been?
I would say 10 is like, oh boy, that's sort of a joke, but it was at the time we thought good. 9 is, especially with Zach. I mean, if you go back now, I would have been curious if Zach LaVine hadn't been traded in the Butler deal to Chicago. Like, and I know that unfortunately Wiggy was a bust, but in a lot of ways. But Cat and LaVine, it would have been interesting, I think.
Yeah, a lot of offense.
Yep.
A lot of offense for sure.
Yep.
Very fun trio. This was, I feel like, after years of, the Kurt Rambis and the Al Jefferson, post-Al Jefferson, them winning 15 games. This was the first one, I think, that, put some excitement back at Target Center even though they were only winning, 35 games. There was an excitement level when you went and saw LaVine dunking and Wiggins and Cat. This was the first, I think, kind of step into the Wolves getting back in the right direction.
I think one of the first ever Mackey and Judd radio edition State Fair shirts was the Getting Wiggy With It shirt, wasn't it?
Yeah, and do you remember who was it that they drafted? Was it Wiggy and they brought him to the fair?
Well, they brought Wiggy to the fair. They didn't draft Wiggy. The Cavs drafted Wiggy, and the Wolves sent Kevin Love for Wiggy.
Yep, and they traded for him, and they brought 3 guys. And if you guys recall, or Phil, if you recall, the booth at the fair for those guys was packed.
Yeah.
There was genuine excitement about that.
They were walking around the fair with just hundreds of fans swarming and Wiggy. All right, number 8 on the all-time Wolves trios list. Back to the OG Wolves trio here from 1989. Tony Campbell, Tyrone Corbin, Pooh Richardson. These guys, as an offensive trio, Pooh Richardson as the point guard, and then Tony Campbell and Tyrone Corbin more like wing-type players. Mm-hmm. They averaged at their peak, I think it was the second or third year together, close to 60 combined points per game. So these guys could all kind of pour it in offensively. And I remember as a little kid, Pooh Richardson, mostly because he had a cool name and was the point guard, was my first favorite Timberwolves player. And you'd go to the arena and everybody would yell, Pooh!
He was I believe he was the first all-time Wolves draft pick, correct? I think he was. Yeah. I think he was. And this is singing my song right here. The Metrodome days.
Tony Campbell, too.
And Tony Campbell, if I'm not mistaken, was a depth guy, and he might have been a CBA guy, but he was a depth guy from the Lakers roster. And he was actually, for an expansion team, he was pretty good. So, this is, in my memory, my recollection of this was a fun group. I mean, the team obviously was not good, but at least it wasn't it was new. So the despair that we eventually felt with Group 10, which was just despair of why the hell does this continue to happen? 8 was fun.
All right, number 7. Now we get into more of the modern-ish day Timberwolves. This was not the current generation, but the previous generation that didn't go to the playoffs. Number 7 is Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio, and Nikola Pekovic. So the lockout shortened season of 2012, and Judd, you and I were watching that game, Timberwolves Lakers, at a bar in Fort Myers, Florida. Right? Were you down there? Were you down there with me?
I was down there, but I wasn't with you watching. But I remember seeing
Okay.
it the next day because it was the strike shortened season.
Yep. So it was a shortened schedule. By the way, that season, Kevin Love was second team All NBA and sixth in MVP voting. And the Timberwolves, in the middle of March, were 21-19. So this is the first time that they had been at all relevant like this that late in a season since, I think, 2005. So it had been like 7 years of irrelevance. And they're 21-19 and beating the Kobe Bryant Lakers at home in the second half. And Rubio goes down with the knee injury. And they wind up losing the game. They wind up losing a bunch of games the rest of the season. And it was one of the most what could have been seasons in Timberwolves history. And then Rubio and Love kind of traded injuries there for a couple years. Like
Knuckle
Love had
push-ups.
the quote unquote, knuckle push-ups incident. And then Rick Adelman comes along a couple years later. And that same trio, Love, Rubio, Pekovic, with Kevin Martin as the shooting guard, popped up again. And they had one of the better point differentials in the NBA that season, but still finished 40-42 because they blew so many leads in the fourth quarter, and they finished outside the playoffs. They were projected, I think, as almost a 50-win team with their point differential, and they finished below 500. So that was another. So that era produced the Love, Rubio, Pekovic trio in a couple different seasons. Is like, how did they not at least make the playoffs as an 8 seed with that much talent?
They were a lot of fun. I was still playing sports video games pretty regularly around this time, and NBA 2K13, that Wolves team was super fun to play with. So I remember that very vividly. And yeah, the injury, the Rubio injury was such a buzzkill because I know I mentioned the Wiggins, Cat Levine being like the first real stepping stone. This team was actually like pretty exciting, and it's like, oh, maybe there's something to be built right here. And I love that. I miss probably my favorite Timberwolves in arena random things that they make was the remake of Carmen Sandiego, but with Nikolai Pekovic.
Yeah.
And it was just where in the world is he? And then him and his thick, is he Serbian? Is he Russian? I forget what he actually is. But with his thick accent, go Nikolai Pekovic. And it was one of the best target center in arena promotions.
Montenegro. So he's from
Okay.
he's a Montenegrin businessman now.
Yeah, businessman. Yeah.
I think there's some theories on what that may entail, but I do remember that was a fun bit. Those were fun teams, man. They could score. Kevin Love was an offensive machine, and Pekovic was automatic inside like 7 or 8 feet, just like that little hook shot, little post moves. And what's funny is, so Flip Saunders had come back, I think, toward the end of the Pekovic run. And Pekovic, because he came back, and then they wound up they traded Love.
Yeah.
And he was there for like the Wiggins, Cat Levine beginning before tragically cancer struck.
Yep.
And there was a time where Pekovic and his agent, Doogie, was reporting on this 10 years ago on our radio show on the original editions of The Scoop, that Flip is negotiating with Pekovic's camp, and Peck's camp is like, we want a max contract. And Flip said, totally agree. He's a max player, prorated for the 45 games he plays every year. So we'll pay him a max, prorated at like 50 or 55 games. And his camp was like, I don't know about that.
And Flip was 100% right on that.
He was. Yep. So, okay, number 6 to round out the bottom half of these top 10 Wolves all-time trios.
Interesting.
Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell. You may think, oh, how is that not a little bit higher, right? Isn't that the trio that kind of sparked this current iteration of Timberwolves success? Mm-hmm. And yeah, they brought the Wolves back to the playoffs in the current era after the Jimmy Butler fallout. They had that big dramatic play-in win over the Clippers. D'Angelo Russell had a big night. I think it was that Clippers game. Like D'Lo kind of won that game for the Wolves, didn't he?
The play-in game, yeah.
Great
Yep.
in that game.
So early, young Anthony, like 19-year-old Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and D'Angelo Russell, and that was going to be the thing, the three guys that they built around, and then eventually it just became one of those three. But they come in sixth for helping to start the current era of Timberwolves success.
And the incredible thing about that trio is this. So Ant, as you said, about 19 at the time, the most mature of those three. At 19. He was the most mature.
You think he was at 19 too? Maybe.
D'Lo was.
I think Cat probably was at that time.
I don't know. I mean, Cat had his things, and D'Lo was. I mean, he was volatile. I thought, as far as like what you were going to get, and Cat was too. Like Cat, if you recall, against the Clippers in the play-in game, D'Lo was so great because Cat no-showed.
Yep, no Cat. Well, that's definitely a theme.
So
over Cat's playoff life. But by the way, sorry for any of the OCD viewers that are upset that I did not capitalize the A and the T on Cat there. Or I mean our graphics department. Some inconsistency there with number 9.
Yeah, you have the one on 9 and then you have the one on 6 and they're different. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me now.
Before we get to the top 5 and a couple other Wolves latest news nuggets, let's take a little snack break and go to Parlor here, Judd. Huh? A little snack break?
Outstanding idea. And let's
What
go.
do you say?
And let's go to a Parlor in particular, because I've talked about the one in St. Paul down from the arena on West 7th. I've told you about the one in the North Loop, but I continue to tell you about the one out in Excelsior. So you're going for a day on the boat, Lake Minnetonka, absolutely gorgeous, and you're looking for a place in Excelsior to dine afterward, and I've got the answer. It's Parlor. Yes, the burger is fantastic. We've all had it for the most part, and it's great. But the chicken sandwich, great too. Craft cocktails, a great array of drinks and food available. And the service, well, the service is outstanding as well. So check it out. Parlor, 3 locations: St. Paul, North Loop in Minneapolis, and now in Excelsior.
Love it. Hey, a shout out to all of you who've helped us, by the way. And this is the first episode of Flagrant Howls this week. So if you're just listening to Flagrant Howls and none of our other Score North podcasts, well, A, you're missing out. But B, then we're telling you about the annual Power of Sports auction, maybe for the first time, benefiting the Courage Kenny Rehabilitation Institute. So at the beginning of the week, we asked our Score North audiences to help us raise $20,000 for Courage Kenny, which works with children and adults who experience life-altering injuries and disabilities. They help you get back to a sense of normalcy, whatever that looks like, whatever your new normal is. And they guide you through physically, occupational therapy, speech therapy, whatever is needed. And we are so close. We're sitting just under $19,000. You can either just straight up donate, or you can bid on items, or there's buy it now items as well. scorenorth.com/bid. And I'll tell you, for the basketball inclined, A-Rod has been generous enough, and his crew, to get us a custom limited edition A-Rod bat signed by Alex and a ball signed by Alex from his personal collection. There's only like one of, I think, 450 of these bats even made and signed in the world. So it's a very limited edition piece of memorabilia. So a shout out to Alex Rodriguez and his team. That bidding right now is $490. So you can check that out and a bunch of other cool items at scorenorth.com/bid as we work our way, hopefully, to $20,000 raised for the week. Okay. The top 5. The top 5 Wolves trios of all time. Number 5. I know people aren't going to want to hear this because it ended in complete disaster. But Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, one of the most least likable good Timberwolves teams in franchise history. But they won 47 games and broke a 14-year playoff drought.
Yes, they did.
So you get and that game 83 or game 82 against the Nuggets, was it? Young Nikola Jokic, the excitement at Target Center. So I know it was a kind of a quick little flash in the pan stint for Jimmy Butler, but he left his mark on this franchise, good and bad.
Did. Oh, he sure did leave his mark.
And Butler, Wiggins, and Cat come in. Yeah. Great chemistry between those three guys. At number 5.
Well, what was a big buzzkill about that year was Jimmy's knee injury right in February, because they were like they were in the top 6. They were in a good spot, and then he had the knee injury, and then they had to scratch and claw their way just to get to the 8th seed.
Yep.
So if he doesn't get hurt, and I mean, yes, it probably still blows up in the epic fashion that we all saw it unfold 6 months later. But if that injury doesn't happen to Jimmy, I think it's probably even a deeper playoff run.
The only thing that would have potentially prevented that from blowing up, and in retrospect, it's better that it did because it led the Wolves to Anthony Edwards at the end of the day, right?
Right.
With how bad they were the next year. But he wanted a contract. He knows his knees are kind of messed up, and he's not an 82 game grinder. So he wanted the big max contract, and the Wolves were like, I don't know. And then there was some chemistry stuff between him and the young players and some behind the scenes stuff. So but it's number 5. It's number 5.
Yeah, that's very solid. It should be number 5.
Okay, number 4.
Yep.
Kevin Garnett makes his debut on this Wolves trios list.
A little lower than I expected, actually, on this one.
Number 4. Well, I think let's talk through that. So number 4 is Kevin Garnett, Stephon Marbury, and Tom Gugliotta. And these guys were only together as a trio for like a couple of years or maybe a year and a half. And then Gugliotta and Marbury didn't get along.
I was going to say chemistry again. Look at all the chemistry problems.
Googs was a little older on the age curve too, but make no mistake. So a couple things. This is the first ever Wolves playoff team led by these 3 guys. Gugliotta was the first ever, Gugliotta was the first ever Wolves All-Star. Was it the same year that Garnett was an All-Star? They were All-Stars in the same year at one point. But Gugliotta was the best player on that first Wolves playoff team. And that gets forgotten. That the first time the Wolves made the playoffs, like, oh, KG Marbury.
Yep.
Yes, but Gugliotta was the best player on that team.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm surprised. I seriously thought they might be, I didn't expect them to be 1, but I thought that they might be 2 or 3. The Gugliotta thing, too, is intriguing because for all that, basically starting with the aughts, Kevin McHale deserves and gets criticized for moves. Kevin McHale made some pretty savvy moves when he got the job in the 90s, including drafting Daniel Marshall like 3rd and realizing in a heartbeat I made a mistake and shipping him to Golden State for Googs. That is one of the better trades, I think, if you look in the history of the franchise, because you basically sent a player who you screwed up the pick on, but instead of being, okay, we're going to see this through, you traded him for a guy who was really good and became an all-star here.
Yeah. Yep, it was, it's funny because, McHale had some really savvy moves at the bookends of his career, and then a lot of just garbage in between.
And draft picks.
But the reason why this is 4th, you will see in the next 3. It's we romanticize about KG Marbury and Gugliotta as part of the beginning of that combo. But, when they went to the playoffs, it was a 40-42 team. They were below 500 regular season. They took advantage of a weak Western Conference, and then they get their doors blown off in the playoffs the first couple times they went in. So it was more like symbolic that they were good enough to be the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and it was the start of the Kevin Garnett run to greatness.
It also didn't get seen through because of personality clashes.
Yeah.
So if that trio had spent substantial time together, I think they're probably higher. But unfortunately, as you said, Googs and Marbury didn't get along. Then Steph decided that he should be paid like KG, and they're like, we can't do that. And so, it's another thing in Wolves history that got short-circuited by people's personalities.
Yep. Also, that version of KG was not the Hall of Fame version that we later saw. Like, this was like a blossoming 21-year-old version of KG. Mm-hmm. And that brings us to number 3 here. The 3rd best trio in Wolves history was this last year's trio. Anthony Edwards, rejuvenated Julius Randle, and still very, very elite defender Rudy Gobert. And the reason why I rank these 3, I'm not saying likability, I'm not saying romanticizing. Like, obviously, in the history of Timberwolves basketball, KG Marbury Gugliotta is just probably a more symbolic trio. But Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert went to the Western Conference Finals this last season. All due respect to Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid, who you might argue, could one of those guys be in here? But your 3 best players overall impact on the court: Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert. And they brought this team to the Western Conference Finals. So they're number 3.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to the Western Conference Finals with this franchise, you're going to get some love. It was a rocky first half of the season with them trying to figure out who fits and what is this going to look like. And chemistry was even at times weird between Gobert and Randall. But yeah, I mean, if you're on the doorstep of going to the NBA Finals, and then the playoff run too, I mean, the dismantling of the Lakers, them basically getting right past Golden State, I mean, that will hold some merit still in Timberwolves lore.
Yeah.
In my heart, KG, Steph, and Googs would probably be 3, but your case is a good one.
Okay.
Deep in my
I think
heart,
in terms of raw athleticism and talent, I think Judd's right.
Well, and also, in fairness, too, the one thing about Steph that now doesn't translate is the point guard position has changed completely. Like, it doesn't really exist and at that time it did. So like when we talk about like Pooh, right, in the first year, the first couple of years, or Steph back in the late 90s, the conversation is very different about what that role was too.
Yeah.
So it's a different, like the big 3 was Steph's going to handle the ball up the floor. Then he's going to get the ball inside, right? And now it's like, okay, yeah, but the point guard or the guard scores a ton. So it's a different game too.
Yeah, and just one last thing, and this is not meant to like denigrate Kevin Garnett, who is the greatest player in franchise history, but sometimes, and we do this with Michael Jordan too, like you don't remember the flaws because it was so long ago, you just remember the good times. And with KG, so they get to the playoffs that first year, right? That KG Marbury Gugliotta team gets to the playoffs, and they get absolutely boat raced by the Rockets. 3-game sweep. I mean, they were feisty in a couple of them.
Yeah.
But he was like 20 years old, and just, you know, he averaged like, I don't know, 17 points a game or something in the series. And, you know, he wasn't like the force that he later became. The second year the Wolves went to the playoffs, so those first round series were 5-game series. And they got up 2-1 on Seattle in that first round. They lose game 4 at home, and then game 5 in Seattle to advance in the playoffs. And KG went 3 for 11 from the field, 7 points, 10 turnovers, and only 4 rebounds in that game. And if that type of thing were to happen in the social media era with a good, young, talented player who just absolutely melts down
you'd rip him
in a game 5, like he would get a ton of heat in that moment. I'm not saying it would have like defined his career, but sometimes we're like, well, what do you mean? How do you listen, KG had some growing pains too early in his career. So if we're going to do the old, like, well, Randall had a couple bad playoff games here and there, or I'm just saying, like, we romanticize KG Marbury more than we should in Wolves history. That is my take.
Yeah, I was actually just looking down a rabbit hole because I was trying to remember these. And Phil was probably a big gamer of this. NBA Jam from back in the day, right? NBA, one of the best arcade and just kind of zany basketball games of all time. But it wasn't really until the original had like the Dark Wolf. I mean, not Dark Wolves. Sorry, Judd. The Doug West, the Christian Laettner. They weren't fun to play with.
Danielle
on the
Marshall
original.
was on one of those for sure as a Timberwolf.
But NBA Jam, which one was it? It was in like '98 because it was these. Yeah, Hang Time. NBA Hang Time Jam. And this one had Marbury and KG and Gugliotta. That was fun. I remember being 7, 8 years old, being mesmerized, by the way, at the time of an N64. And you know, now in today's culture, these kids have PlayStation 5 and Xbox. I can go on a tangent about that. But I remember having so much fun with my buddies playing with Googs and Marbury and KG.
It's definitely the most. It's more fun. It's the most romanticized. But it's, I mean, again, like they got swept in the first round, and so, you know, people can fight me in the comments section. Number 2, all-time Wolves trios: Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. 56 wins regular season, second most in franchise history. First Western Conference Finals appearance in 20 years. Well, Phil, if you're going to break up, why would you break up that trio? Why would you advocate for? Listen, it was a great moment. It was a peak moment. They got more flexible. They moved on from it. It was the correct decision. And then they went back the next year to the Western Conference Finals with a deeper roster and more future flexibility. So, but it is still the second best trio in the history of Timberwolves basketball. And it didn't look like it was going to be the first year, but then those guys get healthy and they build chemistry, and Cat and Gobert really played well off of each other in that second full season together.
All right, let's see it. Let's see number one.
Wow, you just have no takes on that.
No,
Okay.
no, it's right. No, I don't disagree with you. Okay, there we go.
Okay, number one, Kevin
Yep.
Garnett, Sam Cassell, and Latrell Sprewell.
All right.
Best regular season in Wolves history. I think that team, which went to the Western Conference Finals, and they got beat in 6 games by the Lakers in part because Sam Cassell was hurt. His hip was bad. And I think if Sam Cassell hadn't gotten hurt earlier in the playoffs, that they would have won the championship. I think they beat the Lakers in 6 or 7, and I think they beat that really good, historically good defensive team, the Pistons, but the Wolves could play some defense in that era too.
Yeah. So of these 10 that you ranked, how many would you have liked to or wish that they could have been seen through more? Like they're like one. Like if everybody comes back happy, healthy, contractually satisfied, right? KG could sell Sprewell. It feels like there's at least 3, if not more, that it would have been interesting if personalities hadn't become a problem or contracts to have seen through for multiple seasons beyond what we did see.
I think so because of the ages of Cassell and Sprewell, they were both really. I know the whole thing was the second year was like, well, Sprewell was unhappy, his contract, all this stuff.
Yeah,
and there was some of that, but also those guys were just getting older.
Yeah.
sure.
And it was kind of like when the Vikings brought in Brett Favre. It's like, well, what happened in 2010? Oh, who cares? They missed their window in 2009. You did it to win that year, and it was successful in that they finally broke through and made a deep playoff run, the only time in Kevin Garnett's career. But if you're asking like how many would you like to see play out?
Yeah.
Probably KG Marbury, just to see what that would look like. But the rest of Marbury's career, he was like a stat stuffing, volume scoring, undersized guard on bad teams his entire
That's
career.
the thing. That's the thing.
I would actually be more interested in going further back with that revisionist history. They drafted Ray Allen and then flipped him for Marbury on draft night.
Yep.
Like I would have loved to have seen a KG Ray Allen and then Gugliotta or whoever would have been the third player in that trio. Otherwise, I think if we could have gotten a healthy Rubio and Love with the right coach at the time.
Yeah.
Because Adelman was okay, but Adelman was on a retirement tour, it kind of felt like.
Corner offense, Phil. Corner offense. Don't forget about that.
Corner offense, yeah. And then you know what? Actually, as despicable as he has become in Wolves lore, a fully locked-in Jimmy Butler during those years, like we saw what Heat Jimmy Butler looked like when he's like fully engaged,
This is
fully locked-in Jimmy Butler with anybody, really, and the Timberwolves.
Well, how about
would have
this?
been an interesting one.
At that time, how about a fully engaged veteran Jimmy Butler with a personality, so not the game, because the game is special, but the personality of Ant. So like a veteran that wanted to lift people up, which Butler did not want to do, right? I agree. I guess my question is this. If Jimmy Butler had come in and had Ant's personality, which is just a vibrant, like he never rips his teammates, at least publicly, right? And he had gotten a hold at that time of a very young Wiggy and Cat, I think it would have been worth a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
like empowered them instead of cut them down, which is what he ultimately did.
I agree. Like that was my biggest complaint too, is would Wiggins and Cat have turned out different and tougher because Butler came in and was excited at first, but then he was like, oh, these guys are kind of soft. These guys are like, what's going on here? Yep. And instead of like trying to instill something, or maybe he would have said, I did try and they're soft. Like, what am I going to do? I don't have time for this. I'm not a babysitter. Get me to the Sixers in Miami. But there it is. Those are the top 10 Wolves trios in team history. Fight me in the comments section on the Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. Let's do just a couple Wolves news nuggets in the last couple minutes here, presented by MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Judd.
Yep, our friends who do a fantastic job. In fact, if you want to beat the heat this summer, and we have had weeks, we've had days where it is very stifling hot, guess what? A $49 AC tune-up is available. That's right. For $49, you can take your AC from being a fifth starter, which is okay, not great, to being a AC ace. That's right. in your home, doing a great job. Also, their Total Comfort Club membership available. So all year long, MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air is going to make sure that your home is safe and as comfortable as possible. It's this simple. Give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. Callmsp.com.
Latest Timberwolves news.
I really want to play NBA Jam now. That's all I'm thinking of.
Dude.
Ever since I've been looking, I was like looking up all the
on
rosters.
Fire.
Is it the shoes? I
Boom,
love.
Are you gonna bore your son with these stories about back in my day? Like your kid's gonna be playing
Yes.
these new cool
He
games.
will-
You're like, you don't understand what we had, Junior.
These old school video games, by the way, side rant, are hard. They are difficult. They are not easy games.
You're becoming the old man.
Yes.
I need like a revisionist world where Judd has a child, and this would be very hypocritical, his ripping on Declan here, because I can envision you just like 2.5 IPAs in, bitching about Norm Green moving the North Stars for the 9th time to your 5-year-old child.
Yeah, I would have bitched about sports a lot. That's true.
I was like 6 months old, 5 months old when that happened. So I'm sure my dad was just bitching to me as an infant with, crap in my pants and drool, which is the same guy I am now. But
Yep.
I'm sure I got that.
These video games today, you guys have it so easy.
It's the latest Timberwolves news. We haven't touched on this yet. The Wolves are playing on Christmas. You got Vikings and Wolves playing on Christmas.
Perfect.
So the schedule is out, 11 a.m. Central Time. You got Cavs and Knicks, and then you got the 1:30 game. These are all on ESPN ABC. Then you've got the Spurs, Oklahoma City. A lot of good, talented 7-footers in there. Mavericks, Golden State at 4 p.m. Central Time. And then in the evening, you got Rockets, Lakers at 7, followed by Wolves, Nuggets, wrapping up the Christmas schedule at 9:30 on ESPN ABC.
So Vikings at 3? Is that right?
Do we have a time on that game?
Yes, we do.
It's a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
The Vikings, yes. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, just smooth sail, little Vikings vent line on Purple Daily, and then smooth sail into
Go right into the
pups.
The pups, yeah.
Let's go, dude.
Now I think Shams had this unofficially last week. I would like to see, and this would not have been the best year because the Vikings are home on Christmas, but I would eventually like to see the Wolves get that game at home. That's the next step.
Yep, I agree. I get it. Denver, you got Jokic. You get the Jokic.
And the
Denver
Vikings being
crowd,
home,
whatever.
probably they're like, let's not try
Yeah.
to do 2 games downtown that day on Christmas. But I feel like that's the next step.
And then one more thing here. There's an interesting article from ESPN that I think we'll just create some more space for next week about how all in every team is this year. And there's a couple we'll save it for next week. But the other thing on my list real quickly was we talked about Michael Grady's reduced role on the local telecast for next year. Alan Horton reportedly had auditioned, and we're huge Alan Horton fans on the show. I'm hearing it's going to be like 25, maybe 30% of the schedule for Grady. So it's not like he's going to miss 10 games or 20 games. Like he's going to do far less than half the schedule. Now, it's possible that he winds up calling with his NBC or Amazon schedule that maybe he calls some Wolves games that are nationally televised.
Sure.
But they're looking for someone to fill the majority of the schedule as the TV lead play-by-play person.
Horton's fantastic, so he'd be a great
Amen.
choice.
Yeah.
He's outstanding.
Who wants more Timberwolves news? You're going to have to wait till next week here on
Are
Flagrant
you
Howls.
all in, Phil? Declan, are you all in? That's my question. Forget the Wolves. Are you guys all in for the
What does
basketball
all in
season?
even mean?
On
I
what?
feel like if you don't win a champion, that's the funny thing about the article. It's like
the art. Yeah.
all in on championship,
Yeah.
but then there's other teams that are all in on like far
On
lesser
Well,
goals.
here's a question.
Yeah.
Are the
Yeah.
Vikings all in? That's another good question.
Are you, Judd, all in personally?
I'm all in big time on everything.
I mean, like in life. Are you
Yeah,
just
exactly. That's what I'm
all
saying.
in?
I'm a vibrant
It
person.
depends on life.
I see positives. Everywhere I go. No question about it. I am all in.
This is
Encaffeinated.
Flagrant Howls, your Timberwolves lifestyle podcast, where we're all in together.